My name is Paul. I'm the lead automotive specialist here at FIXD. I'm a big believer in the automotive industry as a whole. We're all in it for, whether we use our automobiles for commuting, for fun, hobby, sport, whatever it is. We all have questions about it. So with that being said, let's dive in here, get started, and look at some questions. This first question is from Lee. I'm worried about my car just sitting in the driveway since I'm not using it daily due to the virus. Is there anything I should be doing regularly to maintain my car when it's not in use for longer periods of time than usual? In regards to vehicle maintenance and what to do if your car is in storage for a while or just not driving on the road a lot, a couple things to keep in mind. It's never a bad idea to go out every few days if you can. Start the car up. That gets the charging system moving, gets all the fluids moving, the oil, the coolant, everything's kind of moving around and pumping through the engine. That's always good for it. That's what the cars are designed for. They're a machine, obviously, and they're made to run. They're made to drive. When they sit for long periods of time, weeks, months, whatever that is, there's some things you need to do to make sure that your fuel stays good in the tank. Make sure, you want to hook up a battery tender, or, which will keep that voltage in your battery, things like that. But for the most part, people go to the airport all the time, park the car for a week, get in it, drive it home, not a problem. But some things to keep in mind as the vehicle sits for a long period of time. Your tires, for example, they're rubber. The drive belts on the car are rubber. Bushings are rubber. There's a lot of components that are just sitting there with all that weight on it, which is what it's designed to do. But when it sits stationary and doesn't move for a while, you can run into some issues such as there's a term called flat spotting for tires. If the tire gets hot and it's parked, and then the car sits there for a long period of time, that tire will cool down and essentially is kind of sitting on a flat spot. So sometimes after a week or two, you can get in the car, drive it down the road, and you'll kind of feel a little vibration in the steering wheel. That can be from a flat spotted tire, but all in all, that should run out for you, and that should smooth out and be totally fine. I guess in short, you can go out every few days, start the car up, let it reach operating temperature, drive it around your parking lot a little bit, apply the brakes once or twice. That'd be totally fine. If it's an instance where you can't do that, and your car's going to be sitting for a long period of time, you may at least want to look into what they call a battery tender, which is you can buy it at any of the auto parts stores. Walmart, Amazon has tons of them. But basically, you can plug that in, and it just maintains the voltage in that battery if it's going to be 3 weeks or a month with the car sitting there not starting. So one other thing to keep in mind, and a lot of people actually, now that you asked this question, I remember a lot of people get in their car after sitting for a while. It rains outside, or you're in a humid environment, and they'll start the car, they'll back up, they'll drive down the road, they hit the brakes, and they immediately hear like a grinding noise, going down the road. That is nothing to be alarmed about. Obviously, if you have a brake issue, we need to check that out. But that noise that normally happens is because your rotors are bare metal. You've got 4 rotors on most vehicles. Sometimes you'll have drums in the back, but for the most part, let's focus on the front brakes. We've got 2 rotors, and as the caliper, right, when you press the brake, the caliper pushes the brake pads out. It squeezes that's how your car stops. So this surface is bare metal. If you've got a car parked for a week or two outside and it's rained, or like I said, there's a lot of moisture outside, you can get a slight buildup of surface rust on that rotor. Driving down the road, if you hear that noise, the noise should go away pretty quick. It's just the pads cleaning that material off. So that's another good reason, if you can, every few days, go start the car up, drive it around just a mile or two, or even around a parking lot, and that just keeps everything moving. All right, let's see. Jake. Hey Paul, I'm stuck inside all day and would love to at least enjoy the spring from my driveway. Do you happen to know what's a good DIY task I can learn that won't cause money and damage if I mess up? As far as things you can do kind of starting out on your vehicle, I'm a big believer in doing some research and educating before we kind of dive into something. Same thing goes for the automotive world, industry in general. If you have basic hand tools at home, if you have, obviously we all have the internet and we can Google, how-to videos left and right, day and night. But the one thing to keep in mind is it's very easy to get in over your head when it comes to automotive repair. And what I mean by that is, we can start a job that we think is going to be simple, and we do it even as technicians on our end. We start a job that is supposed to be simple, and then it can easily kind of snowball into something much bigger depending on what you're doing. Some of the most basic things we can do on vehicles are going to be your basic maintenances. And what I mean by that is air filter, spark plugs. Oil change sounds simple, but as long as you know what kind of oil your vehicle uses, what kind of tools you need to do that oil change, you should be good to go. Always start by familiarizing yourself with what you have. And what I mean by that is, pop the hood. It may seem mundane, but pop the hood and look at the engine. Look at the engine and see where your fill points are. And that's where, Google or the internet, or you can ask us, whatever it is, will come into play. A lot of people don't know where to fill oil, where to check their transmission fluid or check their oil level, windshield washer fluid, power steering fluid, coolant. There's so many different kinds of fluids and chemicals that the vehicles use. And learning those is a big part of in my opinion, owning a vehicle. Now, even if, you don't modify the car and you just use it as your, A to B transportation, what better way to feel more comfortable driving than to understand your vehicle a little bit better? So this information can be found, again, a good starting point would be your factory repair manual. You can get a lot of those at your auto parts stores. Honestly, most of them now you can order online and download. But let's say you've got a, 2011 Hyundai Sonata. You can Google that up and you can look up factory repair information on that. Some easy things you could do are look into changing your air filter. Look into changing spark plugs or checking spark plugs. Those require very little tools. You can really go into that not knowing a ton about vehicles. But again, if you go back to that factory repair manual or your owner's manual for your vehicle, will have a lot of information on fuses, how to check them. A lot of people just throw that owner's manual into the dash and they never look at it again, including salespeople that sell the cars. And sometimes a lot of people in the shops, they don't look at that as a tool, when in fact the owner's manual of your vehicle is just an instruction booklet like anything else. You go to IKEA, build a table, whatever it is, it's got a lot of good basic information. It'll tell you the type of oil your car uses. It'll tell you the type of coolant to use. It'll tell you fuses to check. If things aren't working, sometimes these owner's manuals will have some troubleshooting steps you can do to look in there. It's got radio codes, all sorts of stuff. So in short, research what you're looking to do, what you want to know how to do, read that owner's manual, and go from there. Next question we have is from Andy. I have a high mileage Acura approaching 200,000 miles, and over the last couple years I've noticed the fuel efficiency drop. Is this normal with age, or is it indicative of a more serious underlying issue or maintenance I've neglected? In regard to fuel mileage with any automobile, high mileage or low mileage, the biggest thing you want to do is make sure that you're staying up with your factory maintenance schedule. That can include things such as spark plugs, fuel filter, fuel pump, parts of the ignition system, which are mainly used in igniting that fuel, which is going to get you that mileage, obviously. And you want to keep up on your filters, air filter, fuel filter, things like that. Those are all in the factory maintenance schedule, and will break down over, however many thousand miles you need, whether that's every 10,000 you do this or every 40,000. They have a schedule for that. You can find that in your owner's manual, or you can find that at your, you can call your local dealership sometimes, or your local automotive shop. Just say, hey, I'm at this mileage, what should I do? 200,000 miles is awesome. I've had cars with that kind of mileage on it. Automobiles these days can definitely do that. The biggest key is maintenance. If you're keeping up on your maintenance, you're gonna have parts that are still gonna wear out. It's just part of having an automobile. It's a machine, it has wear items, wear parts. But if you're noticing it kind of to start to run a little rough, there's no check engine light, you can always try and do like a fuel injection cleaner, dump that in the gas tank, and drive the car, see if that helps. But if you've got good gas, you got good oil, and you're up on your maintenance, that is pretty much all you can do as far as helping that car last as long as it's going to be able to. So yeah, if you have any other questions more specifically in regard to maintenance on your vehicle, give us a shout. We'll try and answer the best we can. But I would say keep up on the maintenance, do your filters, do all the stuff you're supposed to do, and you should be good to go. Next question is from Alex. Sometimes I get offers in the mail from Midas or something for a cheap oil change, but when I go in, they tell me I have to use a more expensive oil. Does the type of oil really make a difference, or would I be fine using the cheap oil? So now we can really, we can dive into this head on, but I'm gonna try and keep it short and sweet. As far as oil goes, in regards to advertisements for oil changes, you'll see that from your local automotive shop, from a Jiffy Lube, $19.99 oil and filter change. The one thing you need to keep in mind, and the answer to your question, in short, is yes, sometimes it will cost more. Every manufacturer has a specification for their oil that's supposed to be used in your car. Whether it's a car from 1970s all the way up to 2020. Each manufacturer has a specific recommendation via oil weight and the type of oil. So to kind of dive into it just a little bit and hit the tip of the iceberg here, as far as oil goes, your two main different types of oil, you have conventional oil and you have synthetic oil. And then along with that, oil has what they call, your vehicle's oil weight. Now you'll see some numbers on the oil bottle. It'll say, for example, let's use 5W30. That 5 and that 30 is the measurement of the viscosity of your oil. Basically, when your car starts up and it's cold outside, you need it to be a certain thickness. For example, you don't want your oil to be very thick on startup, because when you turn that key, your engine cranks over. When it's cranking over, your oil pump is pumping that oil from the bottom of your oil pan, bottom of your engine, all the way to the top, and it has to get there as quickly as possible so it can lubricate and protect the parts that it needs to. With that being said, as the numbers go down, the oil gets thinner. As the numbers go up, it gets thicker. So 5 is going to be your cold start. In fact, 5W30, W doesn't stand for weight. W stands for winter. And that is basically at 0 degrees. They've done the viscosity test. They have a tube basically that they'll pour the oil through, and they will measure the time it takes from it to get from point A to point B, and that's how they measure viscosity of oil, in short. There's a lot more that goes into it, but that's the basics. So you're going to have that 5, and then you're going to go all the way up to that 30. That 30 is the thickness or viscosity of your oil at engine operating temperature, 212 degrees Fahrenheit. So when you get these advertisements in the mail, I guess step number 1 would be find out what your vehicle requirements are. Find out what the oil weight is. Some use a 020, some use a 530, some use much thicker oil than that. And then find out if your manufacturer recommends synthetic oil. Just to touch on that real quick, conventional basically is, obviously we get oil from the ground. They get it out, they refine it, a little bit of additives here and there, and they send it down the road. We put it in the vehicle. With the automotive technology of today, a lot of cars are turbocharged, they're high revving, they run a lot more extreme engine temperatures, and with that, you need kind of a better oil, something that can withstand that heat better and last longer. And that's where synthetic comes in. Synthetic it's oil, it's refined, but then that refining process is a little bit different, and the additive packages that go into it are much more extreme. And that's because synthetic oil is designed to last longer and it's designed to hold under pressure better. Not to get long-winded, but there's so much more that goes into oil and filter changes. We kind of only touched a little bit on it, but I hope that answers your question. In short, yes, it can be more expensive if your vehicle requires more expensive oil. That be synthetic, and the price can also change based off your oil filter. There are tons of different oil filters out there. Some are canister filter that goes inside a housing and then into the engine. Other ones are metal or aluminum that screw on, and that's the whole canister itself, not a cartridge filter. And depending on which filter you need, that is how that price will adjust for you. All right, final question for today is from Thomas. Would you recommend for your customer to get the FIXD diagnostic tool? Having the FIXD diagnostic tool is a huge benefit for us, whether it's you guys asking questions on your end via our Facebook page, or calling in and using our Fix Mechanic hotline. The nice benefit about the sensor is that on this end, when you call in, we can pull your information up on the phone, and then we can look into your fault codes. We can see that all on our side, right here on the screen. So do you have to have it? No. Especially like this Q&A type situation, you can ask your questions and we can answer them. But when it comes down to specific questions regarding fault codes, drivability issues, things like that, it's always good to have a tool like the FIXD sensor where you can plug that in, find out what your fault code is. That will kind of direct you to your next question, and then we can answer it as well as we can. All right, well with that, I think we've wrapped up all the questions we had for today. Again, if you guys have more questions, reach out to us, let us know. We want this to be a safe space. We want this to be enjoyable for people. We want it to be a place where you can learn. I was always told, as I was getting into the automotive industry, there's never a dumb question. And I'm a firm believer in that. We don't know everything. There's always stuff to learn. There's always ways to make ourselves better. And this is just one way that we want to help you guys become more educated in the automotive industry and with things regarding to your vehicles. Reach out to us on the Facebook page with questions. We'll come back and answer them. And again, if you've got our FIXD sensor and you've got Premium, Premium is an awesome service where you guys can call in, you can talk to any one of our automotive specialists here at FIXD, and we can help you through everything from Like I said, you know, your P0420 fault. What does this mean? You know, hey, how do I change my spark plug? What do I do here? My car's broken down. I need to find a shop. We're here to help you guys. Automotive industry as a whole, like I said it before, we're a big family, and we just want to do our part to help you guys out and to learn more. So with that, you guys have an awesome day. We'll see you later.